Hey guys, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the very first episode of the Antipod. I'm Carla, your host, and today's episode is a little different from what I originally planned it, but honestly, I think it turned it out even better. So here's the vibe. I asked a few of my friends to send me their scariest paranormal stories, stuff that's happened to them or someone close to them, and they sent me voice notes with some seriously creepy stuff. I'll be playing those recordings for you throughout the episode, and after each one, I'll jump into share my thoughts, reaction, or just what I think might have been going on. You know, theories, vibes, anyway. But before we get into the story, I'm gonna kick things off with one of my own. Well, actually, it's a story my mom told me, and honestly, it's haunted me for years. So grab your snack, turn off the lights if you're feeling brave, and let's get into the creepy stuff. Alright, so to kick things off, I'm gonna go first and tell you guys a story that my mom told me a million times, and honestly, it still creeps me out every time I hear it. Okay, so this didn't happen to me, it happened to my mom when she was younger. It was one of those really hot nights, and everyone in the house decided to sleep near the dining room because it was colder there. The setup of the house was kinda like dining room, kitchen, and backyard. Everyone was asleep except for my mom. She had really bad insomnia and just couldn't fall asleep. While she was lying there, she saw someone walking from the backyard, which was already super weird because it was the middle of the night and everyone was supposed to be inside sleeping. But then she saw it was her older sister, Alicia. Alicia walked in, didn't say a word, and just stood by her feet. They looked at each other and smiled. Then Alicia reached out her arms like she wanted to pick my mom up, and my mom did the same, like she was about to be carried. But right before they touched it, my mom turned her head and saw that Alicia was actually already asleep right next to her. She freaked out and get this, the another Alicia standing by her feet. She looked shocked to turn it around and just vanishes. Some people tell my mom it had to be a dream, but she swears she was totally awake. She couldn't sleep at all night and remembers everything. So yeah, creepy, right? Total doppelganger vibes. Alright, so yeah, that was my story. Creepy, right? I still don't know what to think about it, but I swear it gives me chills every time. Now, let's move on to our first ghost story. This one was sent to me by Alexa, and you guys, just get ready because this story is gonna mess with your head a little. Definitely not for the weak-hearted. Let's take a listen.
So today's story was sent to me by a listener named Elena from Colorado. She says this happened to her just last year, and honestly, I still have chills after reading it. So let me read it to you guys exactly how she sent it. It all started in October. I had just moved into this older house that belonged to my grandmother. She passed away a few months before, and no one had lived there since. My parents helped me fix it up a little, but I was mostly alone in the process. So the first thing that I noticed was the basement. I didn't remember it being so dark, but not in a no lights kind of way, but like the light just never reached all the way. So I kept the door shut almost all the time. Something about it just that didn't feel right. One night around 2:30 a.m., I was half asleep when I heard a thump under the floor, like someone dropped something heavy. So I sat up, thinking maybe something fell, but then I heard another sound, a whisper, faint but clear. It said my name, Elena, but just once. So I froze. My bedroom was directly above the basement. I told myself I imagined it, but I didn't sleep all that night. The next morning, I checked the basement. Nothing was out of place, no fallen boxes, no signs of animals, just the same damn smell and the weird heavy feeling in the air. I told myself I was being paranoid. But then it started happening every night, same time, 2:30 a.m. A sound, then the whisper, Elena. One night, I recorded it. I left my phone recording by the basement door, and the next morning I played it back. At exactly 2:31, I heard it. Not just the whisper, but something else. A voice, not like a whisper anymore. It was deeper. It said, "She's coming." I moved out a week later. I didn't care if it was a prank or something else. I just knew I couldn't stay anymore. The thing is, a few days ago, I got a message, a voicemail. It was from someone that I didn't know, an unknown number. I swear on my life, it was the same voice. It just said, "Where did you go?" I haven't told my parents, I haven't told anyone else. But if anyone's listening, please just tell me that I'm not crazy. I don't know about you guys, but I've got goosebumps. It was super terrifying.
Okay, wait. That was actually so creepy. A voice talking to her at night. No, I will be crying. I swear, those are the kind of story that stay in your head when you're trying to sleep. Thanks for sending that in, Alexa. Seriously, what was even going on there? Alright, let's keep going. And honestly, it's not getting any less creepy. This next story is from Merari, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm already freaking out a little. I'm home alone right now, and recording this probably wasn't the smartest idea, but okay, let's hear what she sent it.
Hello everyone, I'm Gretel Merari and wow, what a fantastic stories we're hearing now, but so real. Today I'm gonna tell you about my paranormal history. Um, where to start? This, like I tell you, happened when I was about 5 years old, and it's something that left me with memory to this day. I started. It was a normal day for me because I was 5 years old and my mother was still helping me bathe. I was already coming out of bathing and I was in towels ready for my mom to help me to dress. I was waiting for my mother in the room, but she was arguing with my dad about something. It was then that I waited, but when I looked at the door of the room, there was a girl walking towards me, and I wasn't alone. I remember that she came with another girl a little bigger, and they walked together. I was just a little girl, and I didn't know how to explain what was happened to my mother, but I was watching, and she also argued with my father, so she didn't pay much attention to me. It's worth mentioning that we were all in the same room. The girls looked different from anyone I've seen. They looked like twins, but one looked taller than the other. Both had blurred faces, long dark hair, and wore white dresses that looked like pajamas, uh, pajamas or robes. One had a completely white dress, and the other had delicate small red flowers, like an engraving all over the dress. At that moment, I remember that I had a feeling of fear and I couldn't speak. It was as if I had tied my mouth. I kept watching the girls approaching, so I went after my mom, and as I couldn't speak, I just held her leg and tried to get her attention like that. I don't know exactly what happened to the girls, but they disappeared after I went to my mother. At that moment, I couldn't process what happened that day, but I kept remembering it over time until I grew up and I could finally understand that it wasn't something normal.
Wow. Okay, that was definitely something. Not gonna lie, I'm still trying to process a few parts. But hey, creepy vibes all around. So thanks for sharing it, Merari. Alright, let's keep this spooky energy going and move on to our next story.
Hi, I am Montserrat, and this is my story. It happened around the year 2021. To give you some context, my family and I were living in my grandmother's house at the time. This happened in April of the year, just when she got sick and had to undergo emergency surgery. I usually stay up very late when I have the chance. Our house has two floors: the kitchen, the bathroom, and my grandmother's room. Our downstairs, my room upstairs. To go downstairs, you have to pass to a large patio and the small one. That night, only my dad, my sister, and I were home. They were asleep. I was stayed awake. Since then, my grandmother was in the hospital. I felt a heavy energy when I went downstairs. I am not someone who was screaming else, but that night the feeling was different. In the small patio, there was one of my niece's toys placed in the very specific spot. One I wouldn't have forgotten. I also always making sure the kitchen cabinet doors are closed. The first time I went downstairs, I didn't notice anything unusual. But the second time I went down, the toy no longer in the same position. It was closer to the bathroom, right along the path I had walked when I entered the kitchen. I noticed that some of the cabinet doors were open, which was strange because I always kept them closed. At the moment, I started to the feeling a very different kind of the energy. But I tried not to think too much about it. Once I was back in my room, I began to hear a lot of noises coming from downstairs. That's when I started to feeling afraid and decided not to go back down. The next day, I told my mom and my sister what happened. My sister said she had also heard the noises that night, but that it was me. Since then, nothing like that happened again. But that experience really stuck with me, especially because it happened the night the grandmother wasn't home.
Okay, guys, that's it for today's episode of The Antipod. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening to our creepy stories. We had so much fun recording this and freaking herself out a little. Not gonna lie. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stick around because we've got way more weird stuff coming soon. Thanks again to the girls for being here. You were amazing. And to everyone listening, don't forget to check under your bed tonight, just in case. See you next time. Bye.